Let's head straight to Canberra now. One Nation Leader Pauline Hanson joins me from Parliament House. Am I taking you away from the midwinter ball or the start of the State of Origin? Which one? Or both?
Well, I went to the midwinter ball under protest, I can tell you, and I will go back because I've got a special guest, which is Mark Nicholson, who does our cartoon caricatures, and he's the man responsible for my cartoons. So it gives him an opportunity to meet the people that he voices over in our cartoons, and he's sitting right beside Bob Catter. So he's all right, and he's met Bill Shorten as well. Said hello to him.
Are you allowed to have your phone in your lap and watch whether Queensland can knock the series over 2-0?
I'm sure I'll hear about that tomorrow, Steve, but I won't be going home to watch it, I can assure you. I've had a big day, so I'll hear the news tomorrow.
Pauline, there's confusion over the Voice to Parliament's role and whether it could call for Australia Day to be moved. You heard my remarks there, and have a listen here to Linda Burney. Now she is really struggling. I almost feel sorry for Linda Burney. I think she's really struggling at the moment. Have a listen to her answer to a query in Question Time today about Australia Day.
I can tell you what the Voice will not be giving advice on. It won't be giving advice on parking tickets. It won't be giving advice on changing Australia Day.
Order, members on my left.
It will not be giving advice on all of the ridiculous things that this side has come up with.
Well, that was actually the Minister the day before yesterday talking about Australia Day. But like me, do you think that's going to be high on the agenda if the Voice gets up?
Oh, you bet it is, Steve. It will be one of the first things they will put to the Parliament if the Voice gets up. Senator Watt, he actually answered a question of Michaeli Cash. And what he said was that the Voice can prioritise things they can prioritise matters of importance to them. So they can actually put that up from day one, if they want to do it. There's other things that concern me as well, Steve. They've changed it under the coalition government to the Land and Sea Council, so that meaning that they have control over the waters above and below the ground and in the Commonwealth waters offshore for a couple of kilometres. Now, that could mean that they then could actually charge reparations or money, leasing, whatever, with waters, to do with waters above and below ground. So it's really concerning. People need to really think strong and hard about this if you give them the yes vote. People also have to understand that by consenting to having this extra chapter in the Constitution, it's only the beginning of it. What you're consenting to is the government of the day to bring in whatever legislation they want to into the Parliament, and why they put it in the Constitution so that no future governments can take it out. What I think will happen is I think the Voice will go down. I believe that the Labor government, because they've got the numbers in the lower and the upper house, will introduce legislation, and I think it will, depending on the Liberal Party, what numbers they have, whether they'll ever be able to change that around again, but it's pretty much set. So the people of Australia really need to send a very strong message to the Labor Party. If you don't want the Voice, you don't understand it, forget about the emotions, understand the impact it's going to have on our country, our democracy. It is a racist piece of legislation, or the referendum is, and it will impact on future generations and divide this nation forever.
Well, Senator, I said it, I'm happy to have a debate about what it's going to do, but it seems to me that the Yes campaigners don't want to give us that information because they think it might scare the horses. You only need to look at New Zealand, where, of all things this week, they've been having a debate over there about whether hospital waiting lists, where you're on a list to have elective surgery, you get a number, you get decided on where you go on the list based on whether you're a Pacific Islander or a Maori or whether you're overweight. I mean, that's the sort of thing that is happening in that country. Why don't we be honest with ourselves and look at what happened in New Zealand and Canada and say, if you want that, vote yes. If you don't want that, vote no?
Can you really trust politicians? Really ask yourself that question. The same old rhetoric that we hear prior to election time, and yet they do something different on the floor of Parliament, what they tell you out in their electorates, or when they're doing speeches, or when they want your vote. Just consider that. And it's people have to consider, yes, what's happening in New Zealand, that's exactly what they want in this country, because the Labor Party are talking about increasing the number of members in the lower house and in the Senate. And I can assure you they intend to put a couple of seats aside for Indigenous people only to stand for those Senate seats. So if they actually have 12 Senate seats across the country purely for Indigenous, that means they'll control the Parliament. Think very carefully about this, Australians. You know, as I said in my speech, I don't care if you've been here for 65,000 years and I've heard 100,000. The whole fact is, where am I in the makeup of all this? Where is my connection to this land, the farmers, the people that actually have fought for this country, given their lives for the freedoms that we have? And we all have entitlement to be treated equally and acknowledge that we have a democratic system, that if you're an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, you have every right to stand for Parliament and have the same voice as everyone else in this country.